How's it going, everybody? We have some concerning news that I need to bring to you guys. A new bill has been introduced into Congress, which is a paramilitary bill, and it aims to ban private citizens like you and me from being able to organize and train with firearms. This bill is a direct violation of our constitutional rights to keep and bear arms, to be trained, and it stirred up a lot of conversation online, and a lot of people are talking about this bill. So let's break down what is happening in this bill. Also thank one of the main supporters of the channel, which is First Form. First Form is a company that is helping me right now along with my fitness journey, and they're offering you guys actually something really cool. You can get, of course, their supplements, their protein, and all those things that are amazing that I use all the time. But if you sign up using the links down below in the details section in the pinned comment, you can get a 30-day free trial of their new app. So if you're signing up for the first time, check those links out and you will get that 30-day free trial. As I mentioned in the intro, in this video, we're going to be breaking down and talking about something very significant. It's a new bill that has been introduced into Congress that has essentially made a lot of waves and a lot of people are talking about it. The bill is S-3589, also known as the Preventing Private Paramilitary Activity Act of 2024. This bill was introduced by Senator Edward Markey, and it's currently in the Senate Judiciary Committee for consideration. Now, like I said, this is concerning, and the bill has got a lot of conversation. You've had a lot of people talking about it and doing videos on it, and even people outside of the realm of the Second Amendment who often don't even talk about these types of bills. You've had people like Mike Glover do videos on it. I believe Tim Kennedy did videos on it, and a lot of other trainers and people have been talking about this bill because how concerning it is. The goal of this bill is to give the government, along with private citizens, the ability to prevent others from being able to train with firearms. That's right, they're targeting your ability to train and trying to outlaw it. So let's break down some of the language in this bill, and then we need to talk about how we can stop this. Now, the general goal of this bill is to make an offense out of people getting together and training together with firearms or other so-called dangerous items. The bill states that it shall be unlawful to knowingly, in a circumstance described in subsection B, while acting as part of or on behalf of a private paramilitary organization and armed with a firearm, explosive or incendiary device, or other dangerous weapon, 1. Publicly patrol, drill, or engage in techniques capable of causing bodily injury or death. 2. Interfere with, interrupt, or attempt to interfere with or interrupt government operations or a government proceeding. 3. Interfere with or intimidate another person in that person's exercise of any right under the Constitution of the United States. 4. Assume the functions of a law enforcement officer, peace officer, or public official, whether or not acting under the color of law, and thereby assert authority or purport to assert authority over another person without the consent of that person. Or 5. Train to engage in any activity described in paragraphs 1 through 4. The concerning language that a lot of people are pointing to is actually subsection 5, which indicates that if this bill were to pass, it would be illegal to even train or practice in a group setting in any way that may include techniques that are capable of causing bodily injury or other types of harms to anyone else. Well, if you really think about that, that's essentially all firearms training. Of course, when you train with a firearm in a group setting, if you go to a training course or just train with a bunch of buddies, if you do drills and things like that, obviously the use of a firearm could be training in a way that's capable of causing bodily injury. And so the broad application of this language could target that type of conduct. Now, the proponents of this bill claim that there is nuance in this bill, that they claim the bill is only targeting towards private paramilitary organizations and private militia and things like that. But in this bill, the definition of those organizations are simply any group of 3 or more people that have, some sort of organization or maybe some sort of structure. So again, they say that they have this definition of what those organizations are, but when you look at the definition, it's broad enough to include just simply any groups of 3 or more people that are training or joining together or have some sort of structure. I think that fact has a lot of people very concerned, especially firearms training companies that, have businesses that are structured in ways where they, of course, have 3 or more people, maybe 3 or more trainers, where they go out, they go to multiple states, they train large groups of law-abiding people who just want to get more proficient with firearms. Again, this is concerning to not only those training groups, those training companies, but also those private citizens like me and you who want to go out, train, and get more proficient with our firearms. Now, under this bill, what are the circumstances that will trigger this language and make your conduct unlawful? A, travel across a state line or national border, or B, the use of the channels, facilities, or instrumentalities of interstate or foreign commerce. 2, involves a firearm, explosive, or incendiary device, or dangerous weapon that has traveled in interstate or foreign commerce. 3, involves the use of ammunition or a so-called large capacity ammunition feeding device that has traveled in interstate or foreign commerce. B, obstructs, delays, or affects interstate or foreign commerce. Or 5, occurs wholly within any Commonwealth, territory, or possession of the United States. Again, the triggering conduct that they include right there is very broad. First, if you are training and maybe you're a training company and you travel across state lines, well, that would trigger this conduct and it would be unlawful. Also under subsection A2, the fact that you use a firearm that has traveled in interstate commerce would also make the conduct unlawful. That would trigger this language as well because, of course, if you're training with a firearm, the likelihood is that that firearm that you purchased and came into possession of at some point crossed state lines and affects interstate commerce is what their claim is. Also, they include magazines as well, so it's not even just the firearm itself that could trigger this language, but it's also the magazines. But they even include even broader catch-all language, which simply means that if you train in a Commonwealth or any territory of the US, it also triggers this language and could potentially make that conduct unlawful. So they have that broad language, simply being in any territory of the US could trigger this language. So hopefully you guys see why so many people are concerned about this language in this bill. The language is broad and vague enough that it can be used to shut down all law-abiding people from being able to train with firearms, and also a lot of training companies are very concerned about this language. Under this bill, the penalties for the conduct that they are prohibiting includes the forfeiture of that firearm or other items that you may be using during that training. That means that if enforced against you, your firearms will be confiscated along with any potentially other items that you're using, magazine, ammunition, belts, body armor, any of those items can be forfeited. But on top of that, there are also criminal penalties. It states that an action that violates this bill but does not result in bodily injury can be punishable by no more than 1 year imprisonment. That's right. This bill language is broad enough to simply make training potentially in groups of 3 or more people in an organized fashion, doing drills and things like that, could potentially subject people to 1 year's imprisonment. And if the conduct does in some way cause bodily injury, then that can be punishable up to 5 years in prison. Now, outside of just the criminal aspect of this, the very concerning part of this bill that a lot of people I think are overlooking is the enforcement mechanism that's included in this language. Essentially, the issue is who can enforce this bill against private people and these types of groups? Well, under the language, not only can the Attorney General come after you and file these types of actions, but also private citizens can file civil suits against you to prevent your conduct and then also trigger this language. The language states that any person injured as a result of any violation of Section 2742 may bring a civil action individually or jointly with other aggrieved persons in an appropriate district court of the United States for preventative relief, including an application for a permanent or temporary injunction, restraining order, or other order, or for damages incurred as a result of any violation of Section 2742, including reasonable attorney's fees and costs. That language means that this bill creates a private right of action where any anti-gun Karen, like I mentioned, can bring a civil suit against you or a training company to shut them down and prevent their ability to go out and train. Now, advocates for this bill claim that it's simply targeting towards private groups, private militias, or other organized groups, that go out in public with firearms and things like that. But the reality is that this bill is so broad and so vague that it touches way more on just those specific aspects. But even if it were just targeting those specific aspects, those groups which they are trying to ban are also allowed to engage in that conduct under the Second Amendment. Historically, the Second Amendment protects private individuals and their ability to organize together and to train. A bill that directly bans that type of conduct is a clear violation of the Second Amendment, and that's why this bill must not pass. Now, with the upcoming election and the potential unrest, about the election and things like that popping up, I wouldn't be surprised if they're pushing hard for this bill if they try to still pass it. Also, I think the situation in Texas with the border and multiple private groups heading out there to try to aid support in some way, I think that would also make them a little bit more aggressive on this type of language because they want to stop that conduct. So that's the breakdown of the bill that a lot of people are talking about. That's the legal language. Those are some of the broad-reaching implications, some of the nuances about how this bill is structured. Please share this video around so people know about what's going on legally with this bill, what are the legal implications, and so that people are more informed so they take action against this. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and comment down below, and I will try to answer to the best of my ability. Also, if you like this video and you like to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm, and it signals to YouTube that you guys see value in these videos and in this type of 2A news. But as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget, this nation was built by armed scholars, and this nation will be maintained by armed scholars.